The geographical features of Greece have greatly influenced the history and traditions of the ancient civilization. Greece is centrally located on a peninsula between Asia, Europe, and Africa. Being surrounded by water, ancient Greeks became great mariners and explorers. They were witness to many different cultures and traditions and exposed to a variety of ideas and beliefs. Ancient Greeks considered themselves enlightened, and the civilization produced the philosophers Plato and Socrates. Their philosophies focused on reason and inquiry, and their thoughts were diffused to future civilizations, including thinkers of the medieval Muslims, the European Renaissance, and the Age of Enlightenment. The climate of Greece was conducive to these great thinkers. Temperatures are mild and rain moderate. Early people would not have been terribly concerned with basic needs of food, clothing, and shelter, and would have had time to focus on intellectual pursuits. Another unique feature of the Greek geography is its mountains. As a result of the mountainous terrain, ancient Greece was separated into individual city-states. These small regions operated independently of each other. They had their own dialects, cultural peculiarities, and identities. They also had their own governing bodies. The city-state of Athens is credited with establishing the first democracy, which spread to other city-states. This is another example of diffusion of the ancient Greek ideas. Democratic-type governments are now commonplace. At the time, it was unique.
The French Revolution and Napoleonic Wars not only changed the way France was governed, but had lasting effects throughout Europe and the world. A financial crisis, an outdated social system, and the influence of the American Revolution all played a role in starting the French Revolution. In 1789, King Louis XVI summoned a General Assembly of men representing the nobility, the church, and the common people to propose solutions to the current financial crisis. They couldn't agree. It ended when members representing the common people declared themselves a national assembly and seized power, initiating the revolution. Power and control changed hands a number of times between 1789 and 1800, when Napoleon Bonaparte gained control. The effects of the revolution within France were quickly felt. The class system had been abolished and the Declaration of the Rights of Man established. As a direct result of military promotions now being given on talent and merit, Napoleon Bonaparte was able to advance to the rank of general. Another direct effect was the rise of nationalism. The new government declared that France belonged to its people, not its king. As a result, the French began taking pride in their country, language, heritage, and history. Wars were now waged country against country, instead of king against king. This rise in nationalism spread to other countries. In response to Napoleon's occupation, Italy and Germany began unification movements themselves. Modern laws in many nations can trace their roots to another effect of the French Revolution, the Napoleonic Code. Unique in its time, this code declared all men had equality before the law. It also established a separation between church and state. While it wasn't the first civil code, it became one of the most influential. It formed the basis for the private law systems of Italy, the Netherlands, Belgium, Spain, Portugal, and Poland, among others. Napoleon, through his occupations, also spread French culture. French fashion became widespread and still has influence today. Dior, Louis Vuitton, Hermès, and Chanel can all thank the French Revolution for their careers. So you're the little woman who wrote the book that started this great war. It is rumored that these were the words that Abraham Lincoln used when he greeted Harriet Beecher Stowe. In 1836, Miss Stowe married her husband, Calvin Ellis Stowe. Calvin was a passionate abolitionist and routinely spoke out about slavery. Harriet and Calvin even used their home as a stop on the Underground Railroad. Between June 1851 and April 1852, the anti-slavery magazine National Era published a story penned by Miss Stowe in sections. This serial was so popular that it was published as a book. Uncle Tom's Cabin, published in 1852, allowed Harriet Beecher Stowe to effect change in the United States. It is a story about slaves in the Deep South. It portrayed the horrors of slavery as evil and dehumanizing and corrupting of both good and bad people. The book contributed to the outbreak of the Civil War by giving a human face to slaves and mobilizing public opinion against slavery. Stowe's book accomplished in mass what politicians could not, bringing the issue of slavery into the homes of white Americans. It motivated many to take up the abolitionist cause. Many credit Stowe's work of fiction with creating the political climate that ensured the anti-slavery Republican Party would win the presidential election of 1860, making Abraham Lincoln the 16th president and almost guaranteeing a civil war. Harriet Beecher Stowe and her book struck a nerve with moderate Northerners who were on the fence about slavery. Even after 150 years, Uncle Tom's Cabin continues to spark debate and remains a powerful and influential work of literature that affected change in America and globally. Eli Whitney's modern cotton gin introduced teeth to brush the cotton fibers and separate the seeds. The effect on the United States and world went far beyond just making cotton farming easier. The production of cotton was a crucial factor in the economic development of the United States. An article for History.com reports that in the period between 1815 and 1816, cotton made up for more than half the money earned from domestic exports. This was all possible thanks to the modern cotton gin. Production rose from 2 million pounds in 1791 to 1 billion pounds by 1860. The influx of money to the South encouraged capitalism and investment. There were, however, some negative effects attributed to the invention of the cotton gin. As a result of the increased production of cotton, the South became financially dependent on the cotton plantations. While the gin made separating the fiber and seeds more efficient, it couldn't plant or harvest the crop. Slaves were in high demand. According to the Eli Whitney Museum website, the number of slave states rose from 6 to 15 between 1790 and 1860. They also report from 1790 to 1808, Southerners imported 80,000 Africans as slaves. Because of its effect on slavery, Eli Whitney's invention has been cited as one of the causes of the Civil War. The South's political economy depended on cotton and slaves. This was a huge point of contention that contributed to the conflict. Cherokee Indians also felt the effects of the cotton gin. The demand for cotton resulted in the need for more land. In 1828, Georgia outlawed the Cherokee government and began to take their land. Even though the Supreme Court ruled the practice illegal, the Cherokee were driven off their lands until 1838, allowing the U.S. to expand into what is now parts of Tennessee, North Carolina, and Oklahoma. Approximately 4,000 Cherokees died as a result of the relocation. When Eli Whitney invented the cotton gin, he couldn't have known that it would alter the way of American history.